I'm finally a med student, and one of the things that completely changed how I learn is thinking on paper. It's one of the most underused methods I've tested over 5 years trying to master complex material in medicine. And once I started using it, complex topics stopped feeling like they were constantly slipping through my fingers, no matter how many times I reviewed them. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly why thinking on paper works and how to do it. But before we get to the how, you need to understand something about your brain. Because once you understand this, everything else in this video will make sense. And you'll know exactly why what you've been doing hasn't been working. When you learn something complex, you're not just learning one thing. You're learning multiple components and how they all relate to each other. But here's the problem. Your working memory can only hold about 4 pieces of information at a time. 4. That's it. So when you're trying to understand a topic with 10, 15 or 20 interconnected parts, your brain tries to hold all of them at the same time. It can't. It starts dropping pieces. You lose the connections. And without the connections, all you are left with is surface level familiarity. You read the words, they feel like they make sense in the moment, and then a few days later, the material is gone. This is called cognitive overload, the feeling of overwhelm. And most students never get past it because they keep trying to understand complex topics entirely inside their heads. Thinking on paper solves this directly. Instead of asking your brain to hold everything at once, you offload it onto a page. Your working memory is freed up, and now you can focus on one part and one connection at a time, while everything else sits in front of you visible and stable. Think of it like a blueprint. If you are designing a building, you wouldn't try to hold the entire plan in your head. You'd put it on paper, so you can think through one section at a time without losing the rest. That's what thinking on paper is. A blueprint for how you currently understand the topic. But solving cognitive load is only one reason this works. Because once you start putting your thinking on paper, you get something most students are completely missing when they study complex material. When you study from your notes or a textbook, you see the information one section at a time. You move linearly, page by page, paragraph by paragraph, and you never actually see how it all fits together. You end up with a collection of isolated pieces. And isolated pieces don't connect to anything when you actually need them. So when you go to revise or apply the knowledge or answer a complex question, you find the pieces, but you can't build with them. When you think on paper, you build the whole blueprint at once. Everything is visible at the same time. You can see the connections, and more importantly, you can see where they are missing. Most students have no idea what they don't know. Thinking on paper makes the gaps visible. The parts of your thinking that are incomplete show up as incomplete on the page. You can see exactly where you need to go back. And there's one more thing here, relearning. Let's say you covered a topic months ago and you need to revisit it. Normally, you'd go back through your notes and the lecture from the beginning. But if you thought on paper when you first studied it, you don't start over. You look at the paper, see exactly how you understood the topic, and it comes back. What took hours the first time will take minutes. Those are the structural benefits. But there are 2 more reasons why this method works. And these ones are backed by the most direct research. This is why thinking on paper isn't just a useful habit. It works because of how your brain actually encodes information. When most students study, they use one mode, reading. Information goes in through their eyes, one channel. And research consistently shows that the more modes you engage while learning, the more deeply information gets encoded. This is called the modality effect. When you draw your thinking, rather than just reading or typing it, you are combining visual processing with the motor movements of handwriting. Research shows those motor movements stimulate the same brain areas involved in learning and memory. You are encoding information across multiple channels at once, which means more of it sticks. And because you are drawing your thinking rather than copying from somewhere else, you are also being forced to recall. You are pulling from what's already in your memory. the lecture you just watched, your notes, your prior knowledge. Every time you place a connection on that page, you are retrieving information. And retrieval is how your memory actually strengthens. So by the time you finish thinking on paper, four things have happened. Your cognitive load is gone, you have a full blueprint, the gaps are visible, and you retrieved everything you know in the process, which is the most important learning method there is. Studying complex topics without thinking on paper is like building a blueprint you're holding entirely inside your head. You'll get some of it right, but you'll never see the full picture. So now let's talk about how to do this. Because there's one mistake that kills this method before it starts. And almost every student makes it the first time. The mistake is treating thinking on paper like taking notes. They look similar. Both involve writing things down, but they are doing completely different jobs. A note is a record. It's supposed to be accurate, organized, and complete. Thinking on paper is your raw thinking on the page. The messy, unfinished process of working something out. If you try to make it neat, if you try to get it right, you already stopped thinking and started copying. And copying doesn't build the blueprint. It just reproduces someone else's. To do this properly, here's exactly what to do. Step 1. Keywords, not sentences. Write down what you are thinking. Single words or short phrases. The goal is to make your thoughts visible on the page, not to write them up. So keep it simple. Only write the words that are important. Make it simple. Step 2. Show the connections. Use lines, arrows, or bullet points to show how the keywords relate to each other. This is the most important part. The connections are the thinking. A keyword on its own is just a label. The lines between them are where the understanding lives. Step 3. Make it wrong. 90% of what you will put down will be incorrect, incomplete, or missing pieces. And that's expected. Write down your current thinking. Don't try to make it perfect. It will be wrong. Step 4. Correct and review. Once you can see what's wrong, you can fix it, erase it, redraw it, and update it. The corrections are where the learning happens. One tool that makes it significantly easier is an iPad, because physical paper runs out of space, but your thinking doesn't. An iPad gives you an infinite canvas, easy erasing, and ability to move things around as your understanding improves. That's what I use personally. And here's what my blueprint for this video actually looked like when I was working through ideas. Now, thinking on paper shows you exactly what you understand and where your gaps are. But once you have found those gaps, you need to know how to actually close them. Because most students use wrong learning method for the wrong type of information. And that's what's exactly costing them their grades. I've got a full video on exactly that. Watch it here next.